I now call up H.R. 1663, the Veterans Scam and Fraud Evasion Act of 2025. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 1663 to amend
The text was
Title...
circulated in advance and pursuant to committee rules without objection. The first reading is dispensed with, and the bill is now open for amendment at any point. I now recognize Representative Kiggins for the purpose of offering an amendment to the nature of a substitute.
Mr. Chair, I have an amendment in the nature of a substitute at the desk.
The clerk shall report the amendment in the nature of a substitute.
Amendment in the nature of a
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment as nature of substitute is dispensed with, and I ask that it be considered base text for the purpose of this markup and without objection so ordered. I now recognize Representative Kiggins for 5 minutes to speak in support of the amendment in the nature of a substitute.
Mr. Chair, my amendment in the nature of a substitute would make technical changes to update the language in H.R. 1663 introduced by my friend and colleague, Representative Ken Calvert. This amendment would consider the feedback we received from the VA to ensure that if this bill becomes law, the fraud website and support hotline would work the way we want it to. My amendment includes the name of the website, which is vsafe.gov. Another technical change provided by the VA was to include the name of the vSafe fraud hotline in the legislation. I also want to use this opportunity to share the number of the hotline if this may be helpful for any veterans watching. The number is 833-388-7233, 833-388-7233. I worked with the VA to ensure that this amendment would utilize the existing resources to guarantee there is no hiccup and veterans are getting the most up-to-date information when they need it. This amendment also includes language that would ensure that we are being responsible with taxpayer dollars by only introducing programs that Congress can pay for. This amendment would support the intent of Representative Calvert's legislation. The VA must provide a central location where veterans and their families can seek guidance and notifications to protect themselves against deceitful tactics. The phone number and hotline would offer 2 avenues for veterans to report these attempts when they happen and also to gather information to protect themselves. This office is so crucial to ensure that our veterans are protected against sophisticated scam artists and fraudsters. This effort at the VA would help families stay vigilant when veteran benefits are at the risk of being scammed. I urge my colleagues to support my amendment in the nature of a substitute, and I yield back.
Gentlewoman yields back. I now recognize myself in support of the amendment. I strongly support the amendment in nature of substitute offered by Representative Kiggins. The vSafe bill is a good, limited government solution to address the confusing bureaucracy that has plagued VA's fraud prevention efforts. vSafe would designate a single expert to connect veterans with pre-existing fraud prevention programs across the federal government with VSOs and in the private sector. It would not create a huge bureaucracy to replicate these efforts. With that, so many agencies already have. It would simply help veterans find the right place to learn more about fraud prevention and find the right office to help them where they're in trouble. Veterans deserve streamlined, up-to-date information when they reach out to VA about identifying theft, benefits, fraud, and other serious scams. This amendment clarifies vSafe is designated central point for reporting veterans' specific fraud and will improve outcomes for veterans. I'm pleased to support Representative Kiggins' amendment in the nature of a substitute, and I urge my colleagues to vote yes. Do any other members wish to have comment on the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 1663? Are there any amendments to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 1663? I now recognize Representative Ramirez for the purpose of offering an amendment to the amendment in the nature of substitute for H.R. 1663.
Thank you, Chairman.
My amendment. You have an amendment at the desk?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will report.
Ramirez amendment number 1.
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment is dispensed with it, and without objection so ordered. I now recognize Representative Ramirez.
Thank you, Chairman. As we all know, scam artists seem to be multiplying, and so many of us know someone or have been victims of identity theft. My amendment would require the Veteran Scam and Fraud Evasion Officer to develop an issue targeted training specific to the most common scams and fraudulent activities facing our veterans and their families today. My amendment is not only appropriate, it's also urgently needed. The evidence is clear. You probably have seen those text messages that come up. You've probably seen those emails that are attempting to steal our veterans' data or our own families' data. According to the Federal Trade Commission in 2024, veterans reported some of the highest numbers of fraud complaints and the greatest total losses in 2024. As a matter of fact, do you know how much that was? $419 million. Veterans also continually face higher individual losses than the general population. Their median losses are around $700, which is actually over $200 higher than the non-veteran individual reporting to the Federal Trade Commission. Both the FTC and the VA, through the V-Safe program established under President Biden, have narrowed in on several of the most common scams and fraudulent activities targeting veterans and their families, which actually include imposter scams, which account for nearly 40% of the military and veteran community's fraud losses. These scams are those that seek to impersonate others, whether it be that they say that they're government officials, technology support, or even scamming them saying that they're close family members or love interests to collect money or gain access to veterans' personal systems. The other is this multi-level marketing scheme and other business opportunities that they get emails or text messages about. Also regularly targeting veterans specifically, service members and their families under the guise of patriotism, flexible hours, or even telling them that this will gain them financial independence. However, many of these opportunities ultimately result in little to no profit, and in more instances than not, it ends up being significant debt. Veterans are specifically targeted to join MLMs because their VA benefits can be a source of capital and their network of veteran peers a source of referrals for them. And look, it is wrong for veterans to be targeted for their capital networks when less than 1% of MLM participants ever make a profit from those opportunities. Our veteran service organization partners are heavily involved in this area, raising awareness to fraudulent activity relating to veteran benefits like pension poaching, disability benefits, preparation scams, and the DBQ fraud. Implementation of this amendment would require the Veteran Scam and Fraud Evasion Officer to develop trainings and awareness campaigns directed on these top scams and to help provide veterans and their families with clear, actionable guidance to protect their benefits. Part of delivering on our promise to veterans is ensuring that they're protected from these bad actors, seeking to exploit them from their benefits that they have so hard work to earn. I urge all of my colleagues to join me in supporting this amendment. And with that, Chairman, I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back. I now recognize myself in opposition to the amendment. I stand in opposition to this amendment because it would restrict the Secretary's ability to determine what V-Safe officers' responsibilities would be. The decision should be left up to the VA Secretary, not Congress, to protect veterans' needs. As scammers evolve and become more severe, the Secretary will need the ability to adapt without being restricted by the political climate at the time. For these reasons, I oppose this amendment, and I encourage all of my colleagues to do the same. Does any other member wish to comment on the amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute? Thank you, member.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The MLM, multi-level marketing schemes, are a scourge on our military service members and the veterans that are known to be beneficiaries of disability pensions. And it is unconscionable, in my mind, that we do not arm these veterans with the information about what these scams do, especially we know statistically. What would, Ms. Ramirez, if you could answer my question, you said 1% succeed at these offers, and they're marketed as, I've seen these marketing come through, work at your own schedule, set your own hours. These are all the sort of techniques to draw veterans in. I yield to you to respond.
Yeah, and thank you, Ranking Member. I mean, you heard me tell you at the beginning, $419 million. That is the greatest total loss that veterans have received in scams. And in 2024, we reached that level. They are the ones scammed at the highest level in our country. And what this amendment does, Chairman, what it specifically does, it says Congress understands what our veterans are going through. We want to ensure that we're protecting them from all these scams and certainly from people who are lying to them about what money they're going to make. And all it does, it requires the Veteran Scam and Fraud Evasion Officer to develop trainings, awareness campaigns, so that their families know what they're being targeted for. That can't be political. That's about providing awareness and training for every single veteran, regardless if they have an R, a D, an I, a I don't care about politics. So I think it's really discouraging when I hear people say that trying to protect our veterans from being victims of fraud is a political thing. And in a time where Congress needs to be better at specifically guiding those protections for our veterans, this amendment will help do that.
I'm reclaiming my time. This amendment does not unduly burden the Secretary or restrict the Secretary. We point out specific scams that the Secretary give guidance about through the Be Safe officer. And the statistics are pretty damning. The significantly higher rate of victimization of veterans who are the targets of these multi-level marketing schemes. The fact that the veterans have their own community and the proliferation of the victimization when veterans who are ensnared into these schemes start to target their fellow veterans to be part of this. I can't believe that this committee would not take an interest in attempting to educate all of our veterans, especially those veterans that are in disability pensions, about the financial harm and danger that these multi-level marketing schemes pose. And Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Any other comments? Questions? Seeing none. The question occurs on agreeing to the amendment in nature of substitute to H.R. 1663. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. No. And the noes have it, and the amendment in nature of
Mr.
substitute.
Chair, I request a recorded vote.
A recorded vote having been requested in accordance with the Rules Committee, further proceedings on this matter will be postponed. Are there any further amendments to the amendment in the nature of the substitute to H.R. 1663? Hearing none. Say that one. The difference. Are there any further amendments to the amendment nature of substitute for H.R. 1663? Hearing none, the question now, nope. Where am I going to? Okay. So we will, because there is an amendment vote pending, we will move to the next bill.